going live. We are now live.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to the Ukiah Unified School District Special Board Meeting this October 22nd, 2020. As authorized by the Governor's Emergency Executive Order issued on March 12th, we are meeting via video conference. Everyone is able to join us on the YouTube channel. And we appreciate your enthusiasm for democracy. Don't forget to vote. We have just had closed session. There is nothing to report out from closed session, and we will now have our flag salute. Ready, begin. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and
with
justice.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Moved by Trustee Nelson. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is that Trustee Fernandez? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So we are very pleased to be here tonight to have a public hearing on the charter school petition from the Sunel Valley Academy. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the presentation of the Sunel Valley Academy, and there are, I believe, 6 presenters. And then we'll be able to open the public hearing and have public comment. And then we'll take any questions from the board. So does Superintendent Cuban, do you want to introduce this item, or would you just like to start right off with the Sunel Valley Academy representatives?
I'm going to let our CBO introduce the item.
Thank you. Mr. Steve Barrickman, please.
Great, thank you. So this is the public hearing on the charter school petition that the Sunel Valley Academy, easy for me to say, has submitted. We'll be hearing from 6 of their board members. Leading off will be Amy Frost, the lead petitioner for the Sunel Valley Academy. So I believe we're going to let the 6 of them into the meeting at this time, and then I'm going to share my screen with their presentation.
And
Okay, thank you.
President Mogard,
Yes.
before they begin, if you could open the public hearing before they begin their presentation, that would be lovely.
Okay, there is no gavel here. Ready, everybody? The public hearing is now open for the Sunel Valley Academy Charter School petition. Amy Frost, are you going to start us off?
I'm still letting everyone in, so just be 1 second.
Okay.
I believe they're all in at this point in time.
Wonderful. Amy Frost, are you with us?
Amy is muted currently. Sorry about that. I muted you again, Amy, after you unmuted yourself.
Okay,
It's hard to keep up. All right, great. Thank you. We see you. We hear you. Wonderful.
Nice to see you guys. Thank you for having us.
Uh-huh.
Steve, yes, thank you. All right. We are ready. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Cuban, and district staff. My name is Amy Frost, and I am the lead petitioner of Sunel Valley Academy. We're excited to share with you the opportunity about what we've been working on. And if you've had the opportunity to read our petition, it might be a review for you. But if this is the first time you're hearing about it, we hope to paint a pretty vivid picture of opportunity. We have a dedicated team that has been working diligently for almost 2 years to bring back a school to Hopland. And this proposed charter school would focus on grades TK through 8th with an on-site preschool, allowing our community to grow with our model for up to 14 years. You can advance, Steve. Sunel Valley Academy, or SVA, is built on a mission that restores education to the Hopland community, which is essential to a thriving future for Hopland students, families, and our greater community. SVA is a culturally responsive community school where all students are valued and supported. SVA students will be prepared to lead and successfully participate in our rapidly changing multicultural society. They will contribute to the community with the creative solutions and a resilient, culturally competent, and collaborative mindset. Please advance. Our vision is a future in which all children are honored with equitable access to high quality education that results in success in community and career. We will empower all students to become critical thinkers, innovative problem solvers, and effective leaders through a dynamic and collaborative curriculum. Our proposed board members are quite diverse and they bring a variety of different areas of expertise. My professional career is in marketing, design, and tech. I am a Hopland native and my family has lived in Hopland for over 4 generations. I am a graduate of Hopland Elementary School, Pomalita Middle School, and Ukiah High School. And once upon a time, long ago, I served as the ASB school board representative. I'd like to give an opportunity to the other members of my team to introduce themselves.
Oh, go ahead, Ann.
No, I was just saying, okay, great. Sorry, I shouldn't, because it sounds like then I'm interrupting because it's hard to know when we can't see each other. So I'm just going to be quiet and you all just pass it off from one person to the next and we'll be quiet and listen.
Thank you. We are well prepared and thank you all for taking the time to hear from us today. I'm Malia Meyer. I'm a Hopland resident and parent, and I've worked in education for over 20 years now. And I'm gonna pass it on to Leslie, or I'm sorry, to Christian. Sorry, he's next on our list.
My name is Christian Valet. I came here because we moved to Hopland a couple of years ago, and I actually work remotely as a accounting specialist for a nonprofit 501c3. And I was very interested in the school reopening. So I joined the school committee for the Hopland MAC, and then it eventually ended up becoming its own entity. And I also have a history of teaching myself. I taught English at 7th and 8th grade at the beginning of my career. And I'll pass it on to Leslie.
Saying everybody, nice to see your faces. I have lived in Hopland with my husband and family for over 37 years. We bought a house in Hopland because while we had a business there, but also it's such an amazing community. And I had done some work at the school and we wanted to have our children grow up in this small community with the opportunity to go to a small local school. I am a longtime educator. I got my teaching credential in 1979, so very long time, but I've actually taught for Ukiah Unified only 26 of those years. 16 at Hopland School and 10 years at Grace Hudson School. And this is my 5th year of retirement, more or less, other than the fact that I do some volunteer work and some subbing for the district. And I will pass it on now to Carmen.
Hi, my name is Carmen Koch, and I am the 4-H Youth Development Advisor for Lake and Mendocino counties. I have a strong research and programming, program implementation, application, and evaluation background in experiential learning and curriculum development, especially as it pertains to youth development. And I have had experiences in different content areas, including STEM or science, literacy, and skill set development. Thank you.
And we also
So-
have another team member, Dina from Ed Tech. So any areas that we do not fill in for Board of Expertise, we've brought in Ed Tech to help us fill that gap. You can advance.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the historical overview. And I actually wanted to go before 2017. Hopland community began as Hopland Union and then was absorbed into Ukiah Unified around in the mid 90s. And when Don and I moved here in the 1980s, the early 1980s, we heard a few rumbling on again, but overall people were really happy with that join Ukiah Unified, although it was a very contested issue at the time. So we loved the school, I've already said, and we had the school was thriving. We had a large population. We got up to 250 students, but then by 2009, there was declining enrollment everywhere in California, and especially in our area. The school had shrunk to about 100 students. There was great financial hardship throughout the state. And Ukiah Unified School District faced some very tough financial decisions, as many of you know. They felt that the school in Hopland was no longer sustainable, and so the decision was made to close the school and to bus the children from Hopland to Ukiah. This meant then that our students had to get up even earlier to catch the bus by 7 o'clock, some of them even a little bit before that, to make it to their school in Ukiah. The school was shuttered and it was empty, and a thriving school that had been the hub of the community was no longer accessible to our community. So in 2017, the 7-Eleven committee was formed and decided to surplus the Hopland site. And at this point, when the school was surplused, after having been closed for so many years, the community really felt that the heart of the community was lost forever. And it really was a difficult blow to the members of our community and to our children. So in 2018, the Hopland MAC formed the school committee and began collecting input from parents and community members about just many different topics, but the school committee was focused specifically on what parents in the community wanted to do for the children of our town and our greater community. The committee was dissolved upon forming a 501c3, a nonprofit corporation, because it was decided that we wanted to pursue charter development and the petition process. So could you advance the slide, Steve? So the guiding principle of our team is by the community for the community. And we want to make sure that all parts of our community are integrated and welcome and included in our school. So when Hopland School was open and students were attending the school, we had about 20% of the students were members of the Hopland tribe. And so when we began visioning for the school and trying to decide exactly what directions we wanted to go with curriculum and the school, we wanted to reach out to the whole community. We made an extra effort to reach out to the tribe. And so we were invited by the tribe and presented at a tribal council meeting. We also met with their education director and tribal heritage officer to discuss our plan and hear about the vision that members of the tribe had for their children and how we work together to fulfill their vision. And then could you please advance the slide? So we also canvassed neighborhoods, Hopland, and we went door to door wearing masks to spread the word. And again, to get as much as we could from the community. We were overwhelmed by the support that we found as we went door to door, and it included folks from all over Hopland, parents, grandparents, old, longtime Hopland residents whose parents and grandparents had actually attended Hopland School, newcomers who had come to the community and were disappointed to find there was no school here for their children. So many people remembered that Hopland School was the meeting place for multiple after-school activities, Scouts, youth-centered music programs, shows, Cinco de Mayo, family math and literacy nights, ESL classes were taught here. There were sports team, the Hopland Bears football. All of these activities enriched the lives of our community members. And when we went door to door, we heard stories from our community members that touched on all these different aspects of life that had been available when the school was still open. So I will pass it on now for the next slide.
So we didn't stop our community outreach there. We also held several Q&A sessions with the community, and we heard from parents, we heard from students, and we heard from local business members, 4-H, and the Hopland Research and Extension Center. And all of these voices helped us build our curriculum and our school plan, which you'll hear a little bit more about today, but you can see in more detail in our charter petition. You can advance to the next slide, please, Steve. We heard the voices of also former students who found Hopland School to be a place where they felt safe and in community with their peers. Former parents and students shared how their lives had been affected when the school closed and the effects of that long commute that our kids in Hopland are still experiencing today. As you read through our petition, you'll be able to read all of these letters of support. And these letters also helped us see the value and refine our plan. With the letters of support, the door-to-door grassroots community building, Zoom meetings, and a lot of shots of espresso, we built our plan. And we hope that you can hear all these voices today. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of public comments lined up soon. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Carmen to talk a little bit more about our enrichment plan and programming.
All right, thank you, Malia. And as Malia has mentioned, there were 3 public Q&A sessions where we heard comments and input from the community. We heard from families, and they were excited to see a possibility for 4-H team sports and enrichment programming to be locally accessible for our youth in the area once again. Personally, I am excited at the prospect of a successful collaboration between the University of California 4-H Youth Development Program and Sanel Valley Academy. The 4-H program model on experiential and inquiry-based learning, as well as youth leadership and civic engagement, aligns well with Sanel Valley Academy's instructional model that builds on youth leadership and scientific literacy and skill sets. Through collaborative efforts, we can provide enrichment opportunities in fields like outdoor education, animal science, agriculture technology, civic engagement, and other science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics learning, which are not only important for building content and life skills of youth, but are also essential for youth college and career readiness in the future. And I'll pass it on to the next member.
So this is our final quote that we wanted to include from some of the letters of support that we've received. And this focuses a little bit on the educational program. So some of the parents have been interested in our plan and the project-based learning aspects of it and individualized learning plan that we plan to have developed for each student, focusing on student strengths and developed in conjunction with the teacher, parents, and students. When I was a teacher at Hopland, we saw success with strength-based focus when planning instruction. And in the 10 years that the Hopland teachers relied on the learning record, which was a portfolio assessment system, we saw much more involvement and engagement, both from students and parents. So with the with the popularity of Eagle Peak Middle School, we know there is support in the community for STEAM, science, technology, education, arts, and math, and mathematics-based education and project-based learning. So Sunel Valley Academy will extend these opportunities to our youngest learners. So thank you, Steve.
Thank you. So our educational plan was very much informed by all of this community input, but it's also grounded in evidence-based practices that we know work, and particularly that we know work for students who've experienced significant trauma, which I think we can all agree describes what our students are living through this year. Living through a global pandemic is certainly unprecedented for all of us, our students, our teachers, and our families. And even before that, we have dealt with wildfires and floods, and our communities are stronger and more resilient when they're grounded in partnerships and in community. And those are the kind of partnerships that have helped us get to the point where we are today. Our model, our foundational model is built on a community schools model, which consequently is also supported by state priorities. Our state superintendent, Tony Thurman, just last week announced a special grant program for community schools, which was inspired by what we've seen kids need to learn best. We know that if their social and emotional needs and physical needs are met, then learning can happen. So that's why you'll read more about this, of course, in the charter, but that's why we came upon this model that's grounded in equity, social emotional supports, integrated services that include after-school programming. We hope to also provide 4-H project space for students who don't have property or land, which are many of our students in Hopland, even though the basis of our community is very much agricultural. And speaking of that, we also want to bring in and prepare our students for the careers that are here locally. And that means agriculture, but it also means technology. It means being able to respond to climate change, to be agile and ethical leaders in an increasingly complex and global world. And part of the way we hope to be able to do that is by committing to also a continuous improvement process and a positive culture and climate that not only for our students, but for our families, for our teachers, and even among our board members, that's been a top priority. One other point I want to mention about that is, again, our partnership and community with the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians is deeply important to us as well. And part of solidifying that partnership will be publicly renaming. And so I want to take this opportunity to also recognize that when we initially began our plan and incorporated as a 501c3, we were unaware that the original and correct name of the valley where Hopland sits, the Spanish named it the Sunel Valley, but the Central Pomo name is actually the Chanel Valley. And we learned this in dialogue with the Cultural Heritage Officer, Ramon Billy Jr., who was definitely an important partner as we developed our plan. Steve, if you can go ahead to the next slide. So as you've heard from our other board members, our plan relies on an integration of science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. We are foundationally meant to be community-based by and for the community, designed with the community. We believe in whole child learning and whole family supports individualized learning plans, rigorous standard-based curriculum, and honoring youth voice and leadership. And we also feel that it's important to ground our students in a basis of understanding of their stewardship of our land and our community. So outdoor education and that youth development is integral to our plan as well. We hope that this curriculum and what we've seen from the research is that students who have these kind of supports grow to be connected, empowered, resilient, adaptable, strong, and grounded problem solvers. And that's those are the values and the core principles that guide our educational plan. With that, I'm gonna pass this to Christian, because we also know that an educational philosophy and great research doesn't necessarily make a great school. You also have to be sustainable. And so Christian's going to talk a little bit more about our fiscal plan.
Thank you, Malia. I always get the exciting stuff, the numbers, which may not be so exciting, but is definitely extremely important. The strength of our fiscal plan is, number one, we formulated a 501c3 so that we would not have to rely just on LCFF funding. I don't think that I have to tell the board and the administration that LCFF funding is quite often not enough. So it gives us an opportunity, and a rather unique opportunity here, to provide other types of funding to get this school off the ground and keep it going. Not just one-time funding, which we have quite a bit of. When we reached out to the community, we did not quite expect the response that we got. It was overwhelming, not only in ideological support, but it was also overwhelming in terms of monetary support. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have already been pledged, and more so since we actually turned in this petition. We're also trying to, well, actually we are partnering with a number of entities that are in the area, local businesses. One particular one is CK Broadband that would like to actually put a relay tower on or near the school. And that would not only help the students and the school, but it would also help the entire community. Anybody who lives in Hopland, I think Tyler, don't you live in Hopland? Has experienced the wonder that is the AT&T broadband network, which is not exactly the most reliable in the world. And I know that because I work entirely remotely from home, and I have to rely on a Verizon MiFi hotspot in order to make sure that my Zoom calls don't drop out. So, and I think in the last 4 to 6 months, as we've been in dealing with the pandemic, the importance and the need to close that digital gap is becoming more and more obvious, particularly for small rural schools where kids don't have as good of access to digital digital access as it is. So, and it's often referred to as digital poverty. And that's definitely something that this small town has to deal with on a regular basis. So that's another thing in a partnership where it may not be giving us some money, but it might be giving us access that we didn't have before. When we brought this fiscal plan forward, we wanted to make sure that it was not only sound for our school, but it was also sound for the district. When we said that we wanted to partner with the district, we were quite serious in that respect, and that includes the fiscal aspects of the school. We provided in our petition a 5-year plan rather than just a 3-year plan, because we wanted to see what it was going to flesh out like once the school is at full capacity, which we expect it to be. Our budgeting is very conservative. Our ADA numbers at 93% is quite conservative, and actually used all of the school districts where students were coming from, or maybe where they were residing if they weren't going to an actual school, in order to be fair about what kind of ADA we were expecting. But we did not put in what we expect to be a reasonably significant jump in ADA, because these kids won't be on such a long bus ride on a regular basis. So that's something that we left out, but we think is probably likely going to happen, that it would be large, it would be higher than 93%. We also have not included any grant funding in this. Malia mentioned the grant that just came out on October 14th, the California Community Schools Partnership Program. So California has earmarked $45 million for schools that are this exact thing that we are proposing today. So, and I know that there's tons of other grants that we would be looking for, but we didn't feel that it would be in good faith to put those in, even though we haven't applied for them yet, but we do plan to apply for those. And we have an amazing grant writer on our team. Malia is one of the best grant writers I've ever worked with. So we plan on applying for quite a few grants. How this affects UUSD, and I understand that this is kind of always a sort of thorn in the paw when you are a charter and you're presenting an authorization or asking for authorization. We have 121 kids who actually, could you go to the next slide? I think I've exhausted that slide. We have 121 students from meaningfully interested families. 24% of those are not in Ukiah Unified's ADA. They are either from private schools, they're homeschooled, they're from neighboring districts, Cloverdale, Willits. I don't know who the heck is driving out to Upper Lake, but we've got 2 kids who are driving all the way there. Those students will not be taking from your LCFF entitlement money. And then all of the costs that go along with that, the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the special ed costs, supplies and services, all of those things that are associated with that would all obviously go down if some of those students are now being served locally. So we made a good faith effort to make sure that we could not only provide funding for our school and ongoing funding, but we also wanted to make sure that we were not going to be fiscally impacting the district in a way that would, hinder your ability to provide the same services that you provide. And so if you can see on the screen, we have not only the 121 students, we have 24 meaningfully interested families that want preschoolers to go to our preschool. We only plan to have 20 more kids each year as we grew. That looks to me right there like that's going to be more than 20 kids per year. So it's quite possible that the school will grow faster than we expected. And we also had 30 letters of support, including the tribe and quite a few others, quite a few families that don't even have kids. So they have no skin in the game. And they were very excited about what we were bringing to the table, especially since it was a community school. When we were canvassing, I actually had one of the residents tell me, she said, I used to teach culinary classes. Is there a way that we could, maybe have a cooking class at night on the school grounds? That's a terrific idea. So we want community input. We want not only their monetary support for those who can give it, but we also want their support in any other way, whether it's in kind or whether it's just their time in some other fashion. So on that, I'm going to pass it on to whoever's next. I forgot who's next.
It's me. As Christian mentioned, in Hopland, we often joke if you're all on the internet at the same time, one of us gets kicked off, and that happened to me. So if I'm a little delayed, I apologize. We're a lot delayed. Can you hear
No,
me?
you're fine, Amy. Go ahead.
Okay. So our petition might not be seen as contentious if it didn't involve our proposed facility plan. However, we really, as the only public piece of land in Hopland, I really want to kind of paint a picture for the board and the district for why we designed this model around the site and why it's such an integral part of our petition. So I'd like to, talk about this a little bit and paint a picture for you all. Imagine a place where kids can run freely on 10 acres filled with pollinator gardens, a robust farm to school, USDA garden program, a place where outdoor education is experienced just like the learning students do in the classroom. an area that would allow students to raise their own forage animals on site, which is always an ongoing challenge for those who don't have equitable access to space. A place that can host youth sports events once again and restore these activities to our community. And most importantly, an environment that inspires kids to come to school every day because they want to be there. The possibilities when school is out of session are endless, because what we're proposing would truly be a community asset. For the last 2 years, we've extensively researched the flood insurance issue and the costs and how to position it. And we've hired a consultant that deals with a lot of these issues with floodways and floodplains. And we feel that that what we've proposed in our budget accurately reflects those costs. And I hope that through ongoing dialogue that any concerns that the district or the board members have regarding this issue, we can help solve. We also want to clarify that we have not submitted our official Prop 39 request to the district. And once this request has been submitted, we believe that we would be eligible to pursue a Prop 39 in lieu agreement. With this in lieu agreement, we would take on all of the costs outlined to recommission the Hopland School site with private funding. We have sent a letter that outlines this in more detail, and our official Prop 39 requests will soon follow. Once all of those renovations have been complete and we have the financial stability needed to purchase the site from the district, we would do so. It is our goal for this property to remain a community asset, benefiting the entire community indefinitely. And in closing, the team that is sitting in front of you today wants to make sure that we articulate this with certainty, that this is not a charter school versus the district. And this is not our way or our model versus your way and your model of teaching. This is just a community that refuses to give up hope that we can have a local school return to Hopland. And I hope that you all feel the passion behind this petition and that you can immerse yourself in this vision and the opportunity that it would create for this community and our families and our students. We want to thank you, the board, Superintendent Cuban, and district staff for the time that you're lending to this. We know that there are many, many other challenges that you are juggling, and we appreciate you listening and taking time to consider what we've proposed.
Well, thank you for that
And that is
presentation.
it from our team.
We have received your petition, which is quite long, which it has to be to meet all the requirements. That's not a criticism. And if people are interested, they can go to the website to see that, because this is just a little tiny piece of the whole plan. Do board members have any questions right now that they'd like to pose before hearing public comment? If you have anything, that you really can't even listen to the public comment because you're just on the edge of your seat.
President Mogart, I'm not sure if it's quite on the edge of my seat, but I just had 2 clarifying questions, or they'll be brief. That's okay.
Sure.
On the number of students that expressed interest, you had 121, and then there was 24 preschoolers, and I wasn't clear if those 24 preschoolers were included in the 121 or in addition to the 121.
No, they're in addition to the 121.
Okay, thank you. And then I don't need a long explanation of this, but the cell tower thing, is that exciting because of the cell service, or you were describing it within the financial section? So I thought maybe it had some financial value as well. But you don't need to, if it's a long answer, you don't have to do a long answer.
No, it's not a long answer. It's just simply, and it's not a cell tower. It actually would be a relay tower for Wi-Fi access. And so that's really what the purpose was, that we could actually, the CK is going to get some value out of this themselves, because they're going to probably get quite a few customers. And so that gives us an opportunity to provide that access without having to pay for an actual relay tower. So that's why it was in the financial section.
Because it would give Wi-Fi access to your school, maybe in exchange for okay.
Right.
Is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Great. Any other board member questions for the moment? Okay, then we'll go on to our public comment here. We have 24 people on the public comment, and we're happy to hear from all of you. If you're just going to say exactly what everybody else is saying and you just want to register your support, that's fine too. So we'll start here with Joshua Leaders, and on deck is Patricia Rock, and in the hole is Taylor Macri, and it is World Series now, so I can do the at bat on deck in the hole. I would probably have done it even if it weren't World Series time.
Okay, President Mulgard, trying to get find Mr. Lighters now. Did you want me to move the presenters back into the waiting room for the moment so that way you can see the board members better, or?
That probably makes sense, but maybe you could leave Amy Frost in case there's something that usually we just receive the public comment and usually there's not any questions, but you never know.
So let me find
rather
him
have
first,
it
and then
before
I will go ahead and move the other presenters back in.
Great, thank you.
I do not have Mr. Lighters waiting in public comment currently.
Okay, we'll go on then to Patricia Rock, followed by Taylor Macri and Julie Golden. And if you missed your spot, stick around in the waiting room and we'll get you at the end.
Okay. Patricia Rock has been moved in. She just needs to unmute herself.
Patricia, are you there?
Yes, I am there. I'm here.
Great, great. We can hear you. Go ahead and speak up, and you have up to 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate this. Thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to speak to the board. My name is Patricia Rock. My husband, John Fetzer, and I own Saracena, well, we did own Saracena Vineyards. We now own JEF Vineyards, and we live in Hopland. John and I strongly support the proposal for this charter school at the long-closed Hopland school site. We believe the proposed school will become the center of our community, especially where our employees' children and the children of our friends in and around Hopland will have the opportunity to experience a quality education for their start in life. We owe that to our employees' children and all the children in the immediate area. We feel it is an unnecessary disservice to bus our local children, sometimes for hours a day, to reach a school when we have the ability to provide them an innovative school here in Hopland. We also believe this school is critical for the development and sustenance of our community as a whole. John and I are very enthusiastic about the proposal's inclusion of a farmer's market site, as well as a safe place for children to gather and to learn about farming practices, especially organic farming practices. For these reasons, John Fetzer and I strongly urge that this proposal be approved. There is a crying need for this school, as the Sunel Valley School Committee has demonstrated to us, and this board has the opportunity to fill that need. Thank you for your very thoughtful consideration of this dynamic proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Rock. We'll now hear from Taylor Macri, followed by Julie Golden and Kimberly Valier in the hole.
Taylor Macri has been entered into the meeting.
Wonderful. Taylor? Taylor?
He needs to unmute himself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Taylor, that's great. Go right ahead. We can hear you.
Hi, thank you. All right, well, hello, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Taylor Macri. I was raised in Hopland and recently moved back to the area with my husband, who was coincidentally also raised here. We made that choice because we believe in this community and we love the way we grew up here, and we intend on raising our children in the same manner. Both my husband and I actually began our education at Hopland School before being rerouted to Ukiah. Socially, I can speak from experience and confidently say that the commute round trip each day hindered our opportunities. It was a constant struggle to join sports teams, enjoy after school activities, or even create friendships because of the distance between school and home. Parents in these circumstances are under even more pressure, knowing they may miss experiences or events in their child's life because their home or place of work is not in the same town as their child's school. The lack of local education creates a strain on families in a financial, emotional, and social sense. Educationally, the petition that the Sunel Valley Academy team put forth details an impressive and forward-thinking plan. Their emphasis on hands-on learning and the blending of teamwork and technologies is exactly what future generations will need to succeed. It's refreshing and intuitive, and I believe can only benefit our children, especially in the crazy, constantly changing world we're in today. Economically, the access to local education is one of the very vital institutions that Hopland lacks, and without it, we cannot expect to grow or develop any further as a town. The opening of Sunel Valley Academy would bond our community and boost the economy of Hopland businesses in a way we haven't seen in many years. The added daily population and traffic opens the door to opportunities that Hopland couldn't otherwise afford, and will very likely attract new residents and businesses, which is exactly what we need. So in short, the opening of Sunel Valley Academy would lighten the burden of local and commuting families. It would benefit local businesses all over town and offer an amazing new educational opportunity for our children. It's personally very difficult for me to see the negative through all the positive of this project. So as members of the Hopland community, my husband and I both look forward to being a part of the Sunel Valley Academy family and watching it flourish. And we really can't wait to see the impact it has. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Macri. Now we'll have Julie Golden with Kimberly Valle on deck, Craig Robert in the hole.
Julie Golden is not currently in the waiting room. Moving on to Kimberly Valle.
And again, if anybody's talking or texting to Julie Golden or Joshua leaders, they're welcome to join us at the end of our public comment period. Sometimes there's problems with the phone, and so I don't want somebody left out just because they got disconnected or something.
Kimberly Valle is now in the meeting.
Great. Kimberly?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Wonderful.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly. Yes, go ahead.
Yay! Technology works.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm so excited about this proposal and hearing all the remarks. It just gets me so excited. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to hear this proposal and all these comments. I do know that, I know, of course, the district administration and some of the board members may have concerns about authorizing a charter. I think that's inevitable. But I hope by the end of this evening and after reviewing the proposal, the board will see that this is a remarkable opportunity for both the district and the Hopland community. I've lived in large cities and tiny communities throughout my life, throughout New York State, throughout California. I've moved a lot, but I have only lived in Hopland for 2 years. But from the very beginning, I noticed this town was totally different than anywhere else I've lived. It's the first time I've experienced such a tight-knit community where people with varied beliefs and backgrounds are able to set aside differences during such a polarizing time and truly work together as a community. The Hopland Elementary School is such an emotional issue for many who have lived here for decades. I have been told how residents really grieved the loss of the school when it closed. But with the proposed school, the entire town is now abuzz with excitement about the possibility of local education and central community space and just a great property for everyone to gather. And while simply having a school close by is critical for student success, The Sunel Valley Academy proposes innovative ways to really support all of Hopland students and families, including those who struggle the most. And please know, Ukiah Unified Schools provide exceptional learning opportunities and successful graduates. We know this. We also know that not every child thrives with a traditional educational model, and that's okay. The Sunel Valley Academy would provide all Hopland students and their families with a unique and increasingly popular and effective educational model to recognize their unique strengths and allow them to achieve their dreams. So if the Ukiah Unified Board members read the charter proposal with open minds and empathy for this town and its residents, you will see we are making a good faith effort to avoid negatively impacting the district. And we're proposing as many options as possible to mitigate any negative impact by calling on local resources, partnerships, financial contributions. There's just been such an overwhelming outpouring of local support. It's really impressive. Everyone wants to be involved in whatever way they can. And every Hopland resident wants to step up and do the important work that needs to be done to minimize any adverse effect on the district, because this is the right thing for this community. It's not just a school, it's an opportunity for our very small rural town to connect with and help one another and encourage growth. And one last thing, please, as stewards of the families and the children who need and deserve to be given back their community school, I urge you to do the right thing for your constituents and improve this school, the vision of a Hopland community school. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry you're missing the World Series.
Thank you. Well, we're all missing the debates, but I think we'd rather be here. Craig Robert is next, Wendy Fetzer on deck, and Kathy Richter in the hole.
Craig Robert is in the meeting. He does need to unmute though.
Okay. Craig Robert?
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. We can hear you. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, excellent. So having had lengthy conversations with parents in the Hopland area whose children are eligible to attend the future Sunel Valley Academy Charter School, I am now able to relay their message to those that control the future of this property. 100% of them, and myself included, agree that a K-8 school on the same grounds where one once thrived is the #1 priority for this entire community. And although the task of achieving the revitalization of a once vibrant and long-lasting scholastic environment may seem daunting in some eyes, the Hopland community sees this as a necessity for our future growth and are more than capable of coming together and getting the job done for our children. So many of my fellow community members share my same struggle on a daily basis: transportation for education. This burden is shared not only by the parents that get their children from point A to point B every day, but also by the 200 plus children in this area that could benefit from a truly local school. The financial impact of sending our young to Ukiah for education is more than fuel in the tank. It is time, it is resources, and it is money that is ultimately diverted from Hopland. In closing, I would like to once again highlight the overwhelming community support and absolute enthusiasm from the Hopland residents surrounding the future of our area should this school be approved. I'd like to thank the board members and the Sunel Valley Academy team. We appreciate your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert.
Thank you.
Next we'll hear from Wendy Fetzer, followed by Kathy Richter. And if you're not speaking, if you could please mute. We're actually getting some kind of feedback loop going. Somebody's speculating that it's actually the debate. So I don't know if somebody has a debate on in the other room or something, but we're picking it up. All right, so Wendy, then Kathy, then Rachel Rohrbaugh.
Wendy is now currently in the meeting. She just needs to unmute herself.
Wonderful. Wendy? Wendy? Wendy, can you unmute yourself? Yes. Oh, perfect. Okay, now we can hear you. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. I thought we had a live meeting. I'm sorry. So my name is Wendy Fetzer, and I'm calling in support of the Sunel Valley Academy. I actually attended the Hopland School in 3rd and 4th grade in 1971 and 1972, believe it or not. I believe it's our responsibility to foster the youth in our community, and not having a school in Hopland leaves us without a local place for learning and education, so that we can do that with the children that live here. I need to turn on the light real quick. I'm sorry, it got dark waiting. In any event, I think it would be very convenient for the community and parental involvement to reopen the Hopland School. The absence of the school in Hopland has really created a void for a lot of the kids here in the community. You know, it's a lot more difficult for their parents to be a part of their school because their school's in Ukiah. Hopland kids are forced to begin and end each day riding the bus for long periods of time. I know some of them ride the bus as long as 45 minutes each way. You know, that makes them have to get up earlier. Oftentimes, you know, they forget their lunch, their homework, they don't get breakfast. You know, and the same thing occurs when they get home. They don't necessarily have as much time to do their homework or play. And, you know, a lot of times I've seen, and I have many friends in the community, you know, the parents have to be the bad guy, time to get up, and they don't want to get up. And, you know, it just creates, I think, a lot of controversy and in the families, because they're at a disadvantage when it comes to having the school be local for them. I believe that the board members of the Sunel Valley Academy are very diversified and dedicated and qualified. I know they've collaborated a lot with the community about their vision for the academy, and they have support from the entire community of Hopland. I'm confident that their credentials and their preparation, along with all the support they've had from the community, will help to make the Sunel Valley Academy a huge success. I do not anticipate them failing in their endeavors. I guess that's about it. I just really hope that you will consider allowing this academy to open in Hopland. We really need a school in Hopland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Kathy Richter, followed by Rachel Rohrbaugh and Lisa Breger.
Kathy Richter is entering the meeting now. She just needs to unmute herself.
Hi, Kathy, are you with us? Hi, Kathy, are you with us? Can you unmute?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Wonderful. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak out. That was actually my daughter, Taylor, that spoke earlier. So I don't mean to kind of emphasize probably everything that everyone else is thinking, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about us. We moved to Hopland back in 1994 when she was only 1. And when we landed here in Hopland, we fell in love with the town and we never left. We're still here. We've lived and worked in Hopland and raised 2 children here. And needless to say, we've seen and experienced a lot of changes over the years. In the recent years, it's been so great to see so many more young families popping up here. Between Hopland and the surrounding communities and those also that perhaps commute through Hopland, the thought of a charter school here has such great potential for the growth of our community in so many ways. When the school closed, it was as if we lost a part of Hopland. It was not only a great school, it truly was the heart of our community. No matter what side of the political fence or neighborhood drama you sat on, it was a neutral place where everyone came together, whether it was a town meeting or a fundraiser or a school festival or a football game. It would be great to see the Hopland Bears come back too. Bringing the school back to life would restore what we're missing here in Hopland, and it's a great way that keeps our community connected and involved, whether you have children or not. Both of our children attended Hopland School back in the early 90s, and it was such a wonderful learning base that served them well for the rest of their middle and high school years. They both achieved highest honors in high school and went on to also graduate at the top of their classes from college. We hope someday to have our future grandchildren have the educational opportunity that our children did. And on a side note, no, Taylor and Austin are not pregnant, just in case anybody freaks out on that one. But someday, we 1,000,000% support the approval of the Sunel Valley Academy Charter School. The petition they put together is extremely impressive, and it is exactly what is needed in a time where we need to evolve in our educational approach to match the changing times we now live in. The curriculum would create an environment of learning that would benefit all children in their most formative years. We're not really sure why this is even up for debate, especially since the framework is already there. And it's hard to understand why there would be any opposition to this proposal for the Sunel Valley Academy Charter School, especially from an educational standpoint. Nowhere in any mission statement does it mention financial gain. The children and their education are our future, and that should be the focus. Thank you so much for your consideration. And that comes from the whole Richter family.
Thank you very much. And we're not going to weigh in on whether or not we should be pressuring Taylor to get pregnant yet, but
yeah,
you know,
I just didn't
right
want
in the
everyone to
middle
start
of all that
calling. Thank
family
you.
drama right now. Everybody
Yes.
on YouTube, you betcha. Rachel
Yes,
Rohrbach, followed by Lisa
Thank you.
Breger, and then Cody Ashurst.
Rachel Rohrbach is currently in the meeting. She just needs to unmute herself.
Wonderful. Rachel? Rachel, are you with us?
Hello?
Rachel Yes, Rachel, is that you?
Okay, yes.
Wonderful. You have 3 minutes. We can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to have a hard time controlling my emotions. So I'm going to read what I've prepared.
Okay.
My husband and I are both from Hopland School. We're both Hopland School alumni, and we benefited from its golden years, and we're now parents who suffer from its absence. Hopland School was the center of my world as a child, and I wanted to raise my children with the same sense of community that I had. Moving home to raise my family, I never imagined the life that I've lived for the past 7 years. Every school day, I have driven my 3 children to town for school. I've sometimes had to make 3 to 4 trips to town per day to facilitate their basic educational needs. The loss of Hopland School has been devastating in every sense of the word. I look forward to having a school in Hopland again. I look forward to being able to volunteer in my children's classrooms without having to sacrifice an entire day's work for my business, ranch, and home in order to do so, and to spend all my time waiting to pick up children and money in Ukiah. I look forward to my husband being able to come home from his 12-hour day and 1.5-hour commute both ways and not have to go back to Ukiah for my children's activities. I look forward to our being able to participate in school leadership, coaching sports teams, and lead local 4-H groups that we've not been able to do because of the burden of the commute. I look forward to my children's 2 sets of grandparents who live in Hopland, that they'll be able to more easily volunteer and participate in their grandchildren's education and events. I look forward to being able to pick up my sick and injured children when they need me, rather than having them have to wait in the office until I get there. I look forward to being able to stay home with my sick children, rather than having to spend 2 hours on the road taking their siblings to school. My children's attendance will improve
because I won't have to take the healthy child out of class early in order to be able to care for the ill child that's picked up in the middle of the day. I look forward to my children being able to participate in sports, 4-H, and other school activities that we've not been able to because of the financial and physical burden. They will have more downtime, more sleep, more time on our beautiful property, and less time on the road or killing time in Ukiah. I look forward to being able to be home after school and before events and being able to feed my children a proper meal rather than having to go out to eat in Ukiah at an additional expense. I look forward to being able to use Hopland Bank, Hopland Restaurants, Hopland Post Office, Hopland Grocery Store once again. I look forward to all of the financial benefits that will come to my beloved hometown. I look forward to the community that I will have again as we gather for events and are able to carpool to events that are in Ukiah, which currently isn't plausible because we are fractured and divided between so many teams and schools. I look forward to the new families that will come to Hopland because of this fantastic school and for the local friends and playdates. I look forward to the incredible curriculum that the Sunel Valley Academy has planned, the individual learning plans, the project-based education, and hands-on learning that will benefit my children who struggle with ADHD. I love everything about their plans. It's a perfect fit for my family and for the diverse population in Hopland. We will only benefit from this for 4 years, but I know that our family will benefit for years to come. Please consider any sacrifice for the establishment of the school to be a small sacrifice for our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Lisa Breger, Cody Ashurst, and then Anna Buselink.
Okay, meeting Lisa Breger now. She is in the meeting and just needs to unmute herself.
Okay. Lisa, are you with us? Lisa, are you with us? Lisa Breger, can you unmute? We can't hear you.
And Lisa, it's *6 to unmute, just in case that helps.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted.
There we go.
Hello?
We hear you now. You have 3 minutes.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now, Ann?
Yes, perfectly.
Great. All right. Wow, I've just been so impressed with all of the. I did that.
There we go. We hear you now. You have 3 minutes.
Okay.
Lisa,
so,
I think you're hearing me on YouTube and live is the problem.
I just put my YouTube on. I mean, I just closed it. So.
Perfect. Perfect. We can hear you.
Okay.
Now.
Great. Wow. I just wanted to say how impressed I was with all of the previous speakers. Just almost, there's hardly anything left to say, except that I was one of the lucky few who got to be a school teacher at Ukiah, at Hopland School. And I started in the 90s, taught there for 7 years. And then I moved on to Ukiah as our enrollment decreased. I taught at Nokomis and retired from UUSD. I live in Hopland on my husband's land, and I've lived there off and on throughout the last 30 years. And I just think that Hopland School was a gem. It had everything that a tiny town wanted. It had a diverse community. We had the Latinx community, the Native American community. We had the vineyard owners and the local people. And I was also thinking, as I listened to previous speakers, how many people are so settled in this community? People have come back. This isn't a transient community. And our school was really a centerpiece for us. It's true, Hopland is a tiny town, and sometimes small is beautiful. At Hopland School, every child knew every adult, and every adult knew every child over time. We were interacted with everyone, and so the size of the school was one of the benefits, in my opinion. And I wanted to say that there was a lot of innovation at Hopland School. We had our multi-graded classrooms. We did the online portfolio assessment. We had a lot of cross-age tutoring. We had the big buddies, and teachers did have staff meetings once a month. We had them once a week. The teacher collaboration at a small school really increases. I think that I just wanted to say one last thing, which is that my husband is very hopeful about seeing this school open up. He attended as a child, and his children went here as well. And it means a lot to people who've lived here all their lives. So I want to thank you for considering this wonderful petition that they put together. And we are asking you to support us to have our school back, which is the center of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, we'll hear from Cody Ashurst, then Anna Buselink, and Katie Nyborg.
Cody Ashurst is now in the meeting. He just needs to unmute himself by hitting *6, was it, Superintendent Kubin?
Cody.
Hello?
Wonderful. We can hear
Hi
you,
there.
Cody. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Cody Ashurst, and I currently live in Hopland, and I was born and raised here. My family has been here for generations and has been a big part of this community of Hopland, as some of you may know. My grandmother, Pat, taught at Hopland School for many years, and I also went there when I was a child. I love my time at Hopland School, and the teachers that I had there remain some of my favorite to this day, all the way through high school and through college. I want my kids to look back on their time at elementary school with the same fondness that I have. Being taught by teachers that are a part of their community and care enough about them to help them succeed throughout their lives. I know that this community needs a school in order to thrive and grow. I will be more than happy and willing to volunteer my time through the process of this school becoming a reality and continue to give my time and support to help with anything after the school opens. I hope to see Hopland School open again for the benefit of not only my children, but for all the kids of this community and any that wish to be a part of this school. I love this town and I love the people in it, and I only want the best for the community, and approving this charter would only help the town to grow and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. And I want you to know that you're now on record publicly, because we save these on YouTube, that you were volunteering to help get things started and keep it going. So I hope
Perfect.
people know they're
I'm
making
more than
public
happy.
commitments.
More than happy to be on record.
Oh, that's great. Anna Buselink next, and then Katie Nyborg and Bessie Glossinger in the hole.
Anna Businek is now in the meeting and just needs to unmute herself using *6.
Anna?
Yeah, hi.
Wonderful. We can hear you perfectly. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
It worked. Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Anna Buselink, and I'm calling on behalf of my family, my husband, Gary Breen, and my 2 daughters. Just for some context, I was one of the founding members of the Hopland MAC with Julie Golden, and am a longtime supporter of bringing back the Hopland School. Just as context, we are first generation Hoplanders. You've heard from many people who've been here a lot longer than 10 years. But we have been investing in Hopland since we arrived, in the shuttered businesses, which are now Campa Vita, the Stock Farm Inn and Restaurant, and the Thatcher Hotel. We know how important it is to reopen in the towns that have been shuttered. So when we first looked at moving here back in 2008, we actually toured the Hopland School and fell in love with the teachers and the community. And it was actually one of our decisions to move here. So sadly, while we were in the process of moving here, that school closed, as you had heard in that presentation. We have, for the past 10 years, been part of going to school up in Ukiah, and our daughters have been attending Eagle Peak and now Ukiah High School. I can personally vouch for putting over 100,000 miles on my car because the bus situation is just not great for kids traveling from Hopland to north of here. The hours on the bus, the conditions on the bus, you know how hot it gets here, you know how cold it gets here. It does not set up a child for success in learning. So they are often exhausted. The bus drivers are overwhelmed. It is not great. And that's not a judgment on the bus situation. It's just when you add hours to the scenario, it is not ideal. So as you've already heard from many of the neighbors and folks who have a lot more time and tenure here in this town, our town desperately needs a school. And our ability, and anybody's business ability to attract employees here requires a family to look and see where they can imagine living and growing. So we need you to make this decision for putting in the school so that our whole town can thrive. And it's an important decision, and as a board, I hope you make the right one, which is to make this very well researched, very well sponsored, very well funded proposal and approve it for our town and support not just the current children, but our future community as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anna. Katie Nyborg, Bessie Glossinger, and then Haas Malone.
Katie Nyborg is now in the meeting and just needs to unmute herself using *6.
Great. Katie? Hi, Katie.
Here.
Wonderful. We can hear you. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for letting me have this time. My name is Katie Nyborg, and I'm a fourth-generation Mendocino County resident. I grew up in Hopland, and my siblings and I attended Hopland School. My eldest children also attended Hopland Elementary School, as you already know. Their grandmother, Pat Ashers, taught for 29 years there. I spent 10 years volunteering in the classroom and doing community events as well as teaching community fitness classes there. It is also my hope that my 3+ grandchildren will attend school in Hopland. This would make them the 4th-generation Hopland School alumni. I personally lived in Hopland for over 33 years, and the elementary school was always a place not only for children to learn and grow, but where the community gathered together, as you've heard plenty of times. It was heartbreaking for me to see the school closed down and boarded up for the past 10 years. So when I heard of the possibility of it reopening, I was overjoyed, literally. The enthusiasm and energy, especially the vision from this group of people behind this idea, is absolutely infectious. Their community support is overwhelming and continues to grow daily, including the support from the Hopland Band of Poma Indians. The community is excited enough about the possibility that even individuals with limited incomes and without children are offering to donate from their own pockets and already have done so. Hopland has no parks, no bike paths, no walking paths, no hiking trails, ball fields. The school is the only public ground, with the exception of the fire department, to gather together, enjoy a picnic, a run, a walk through the garden, a soccer game, or a football game. Every community needs a school, and in fact, every town in the county of Mendocino has a school within 7 miles of their community, except for Hopland. The idea of a school rooted in community collaboration, mentorships, a 4-H farm, multiple outdoor learning centers, a community and school garden, an amphitheater, a farmer's market sounds amazing, and this is just a small glimpse into their vision.
an authentic hands-on learning experience and gathering space, not only for the students, but for the community at large, is exactly what the community needs. I acknowledge and support your important role as school board member and your very critical duty to constantly look to the future of education for all of our children. And this is definitely one of those critical times. Please, I urge you, don't allow this property to become anything other than a school. If the Ukiah Unified School District can't find a way to reopen the school, please give the opportunity to this group to do so. Give them a space where education can take place all day, every day. We should not forget that these young children ride a bus 2+ hours out of their day, as I did. Instead, let us give these children that time to spend running, playing, and learning. Let us give them a voice and a choice in their school experience. Let's serve our full community in its entirety and celebrate with the Hopland community, allowing these children and their families to create and perpetuate their connection to their local natural environment where they can spend more time being challenged to stretch, grow, and realize their true potential. That should be our goal, where each and every child, along with their community, can enrich a sense of wonder, helping to empower them to be more compassionate, responsible, and active citizens. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Bessie Glossinger, then Haas Malone and Marie Kong.
Bessie Glossinger is now in the meeting and just needs to unmute herself using *6.
Great, Bessie.
Hello, this is, hi.
Hi,
It's
perfect.
odd.
We can hear you. Go right ahead. You've got 3 minutes.
Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to address the board. I'm calling in today in support of the Chenal Valley Academy. Many have already touched on my talking points for calling in. I strongly favor the decreased need for busing and the kids being on the road, and the potential for this community with this school is just amazing. With about 30 years in the field of youth development, when I read this SVA application, I'm really impressed with the innovative curriculum that they've identified, the stated restorative approach to discipline that they have in their plan, their trauma responsive practices, their focus on youth voice and leadership, and their strongly well-written intentional local control accountability plan. Time, care, passion have gone into this application, and I thank you for letting me speak with you today in support of this amazing application. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bessie. We appreciate it. Next, Haas Malone, followed by Marie Kong and Nancy Laybourne.
Haas Malone has been allowed into the meeting and just needs to unmute themselves by *6.
Hi, Haas, are you with us? Haas, are you unmuted?
I am unmuted. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect now. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I just want to say I'm a 4th-generation Hopland resident. I'm actually the 5th and 6th generation of the Maloney family are living in this valley also. Also was the fire chief for Hopland and had the honor of being there the day the school reopened when we raised the flag with my 2 daughters standing alongside me after the flood. And it was a great moment because at that point in time, the heart of the community had reopened. Firefighters took the day off to be there at that point in time, to bring their children, to be there to welcome the children. And the community effort that took to clean the school up were parents of children, plus grandparents, plus friends, and the whole community came in. And that shows you the support that this school has. SVA will have that same support. People like my father, who was a board member on Hopland Unified, from Story on the Hopland School District and Ukiah Unified School District, at 94 says this would be a wonderful opportunity and would love to come down and help teach people about the history of Hopland. So that's the enthusiasm that we see here in the Valley at this point in time. I'd also like to say that the safety of our children in this Valley is at risk. And I say that as I drive through the valley every morning at 6 a.m., 5:30, but usually 6 to 6:30, and have children on the streets waiting for buses when the buses are running. Of course, not during this COVID time. So with that aspect, I think the safety of our children is paramount and should be thought about even more. They're walking around like that. So we see all these things in this community, in the heart and soul of our community, and we want to keep that heart and soul going. And people like myself and my family fully support this academy going forward and plan on volunteering and helping with this school any way we can. I'd like to thank the board this time and thank Amy and all the people from SVA for making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Huss. Next, we'll hear from Marie Kong, followed by Nancy Laybourne and Karen Keene.
Marie Kong has been admitted into the meeting and just needs to unmute themselves using *6.
Hi, Marie. Hi, Marie.
She appears to have been disconnected.
Oh dear.
Move-
Okay, well, we'll come back to Marie. Is Nancy Laybourne in the waiting room?
She is. I will admit her now.
Wonderful.
Nancy Laybourne has been admitted to the meeting and just needs to unmute herself using *6.
Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you, Nancy. You've got 3 minutes. Thanks for calling.
I'm a retired physician's assistant, and I've worked at pediatrics for 23 years. I support the Snell Valley Academy and restoring the old Hopland Elementary School, which has sat empty for years. Snell Valley Academy will give a child a better education closer to home. It will improve teacher-to-student ratio. Children will be ready to learn since they didn't have to wake up so early to be on a bus to get to school miles from home. For the Indigenous children of Hopland, being in their own community, their cultural needs will be addressed by tribal members, and they will learn and grow and be proud of their heritage. My question to you is, would you like your small child to be on a school bus for almost 2 hours to get an education? Please consider the needs of the children of Hopland. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Karen Keene, followed by Tatiana Ashurst and Patricia Bonani.
Karen Keene is now in the meeting and just needs to unmute herself using *6.
Karen?
Hello.
Hi, Karen.
Yes, hello. I
Hi,
think
can you
I'm behind schedule.
turn off your radio?
Children will be ready to learn since they didn't.
Sorry about that.
No, that's great. We
am
can
I-
hear you now perfectly. Go right ahead. You've got 3 minutes.
All right. I want to thank the board members for allowing me this opportunity to publicly voice my support for the reopening of the old Hopland Elementary School as proposed by the Snell Valley Academy. As a third-generation Mendocino County native, a resident for 82 years, and a Hopland resident for 43 years, I have a vested interest in this proposal. I'm one of 27 members of my family over 4 generations and 91 years who have graduated from Ukiah High School, and 6 of our 8 children, 7 of our grandchildren attended Hopland Elementary School and went on to Ukiah High. Soon, several of my great-grandchildren will be old enough to attend. So I care. And I do know, having done history for McDowell Valley, that there has been a school in the Hopland area for over 130 years. And I know it has been the gathering place for the community. The connectedness that the school provided has been gone since its closure in 2010. And I think it's important to remember that the current school property was a gift given to the Hopland Union Elementary School by a local resident back in 1953 to build a new school for the community. And I've been aware of numerous discussions whether to reopen the school or what to do with the land if it is not reopened as a school. But now, the diverse, and it is a diverse Hopland community, has organized and built a strong educational model. And they feel strongly about reopening this school, as you can hear from all the people who you have listened to today. And they're willing to dedicate their own time, their energy, and money to make it a reality, and I am not an exception. This should be a strong mandate to the Ukiah School Board to support the reopening of this school. I think their vision incorporates so many things the world has learned since 2010 in educational innovation and during the COVID pandemic. I really support their stated vision to develop critical thinkers, the innovative problem solvers that we need, effective leaders, and that dynamic curriculum. The new school ground design incorporates the entire property and it's exciting. There's flexible spaces for outdoor classroom learning and exercise. The focus on local agriculture and 4-H programs with the pens and the barn for the animals provides hand-on learning. The school garden is going to provide nutrition for school lunches alongside the community garden that will engage the students and the community alike. So will the soccer field that can be used for all kinds of sports, the Heritage Plaza for the classrooms, festivals, the farmers market, and all kinds of events. I truly wish this type of school had existed when my children and grandchildren had attended. So I urge each member of the board to think carefully about what this would do for the greater Hopland community. And I hope you will embrace and support this very well-planned project wholeheartedly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Karen. Next, we'll hear from Tatiana Ashurst, followed by Patricia Bonani and Rena Trimble.
Tatiana Ashurst is now in the meeting and just needs to unmute themselves using *6.
Tatiana?
Hello?
Wonderful. We can hear you. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have only lived in Hopland, in the Hopland area, for about 6 years, but my husband was born and raised here. And in that short time that I've lived here, I have witnessed a special community that is genuine and always comes together in support of one another. I have no doubts that this community will rally together and support this school in its development and growth. My husband and I recently welcomed our first child, and it has been a concern as to where we are going to send her to school. Living in a remote, rural town surely has its benefits, and of course it is beautiful. But in terms of education, access to quality schooling can be very limited, and it just shouldn't be that way. All children should have access to a quality education that is local and does not require a lengthy commute. I love this community, and my family and I are fully committed to seeing this project through and will be available to help in any way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Bonani and Rena Trimble, followed by Andre Begley.
Patricia Bonani has been entered into the meeting and just needs to unmute themselves using *6.
Patricia.
Hi, this is Patricia Bonani, and I'm calling from Florida. And I'm calling you because I have an 8 and 10-year-old grandchildren that live in Hopland. And I'm just so impressed. And I would be so happy to see Chanella, I'm not sure I'm saying it right, Chanella Valley Academy as an option for them for school. So far, they've been homeschooled. And I just think it would be so great for them to be able to participate in local enrichment activities and to be challenged to grow into strong leaders and critical thinkers. every time I hear about a fire close to their home, I worry. I would feel so much better knowing that there was a central place, like a community school, like the Chanella Valley Academy, where a family could gather and regroup with their neighbors and find solutions to the challenges that we're all going to continue to find in the coming years due to climate change. Please approve this charter. I just think it would be so great for the education of your local kids, and especially my grandchildren, who I just love so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Patricia. Rena Trimble.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Rena Trimble, and then Andre Begley and Quinn Meyer Ayala.
Raina Trimble is now in the meeting and just needs to unmute themselves using *6.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for
Hi.
turning that off. Perfect. We can hear you. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, good. I just, mine will just be really brief. I just wanted to make sure that I showed my support for Amy and for everybody that's doing this. I'm just so excited about it. When she first told us about Hopland School, I've lived here all my life. I've volunteered with the fire department. My husband has. My kids, all 3 of them, went to Hopland School. He also started the Hopland Bears football team. That was kind of one of the big things that we did for the community, and we were really excited about that. And I just feel in my heart that Hopland has really gone downhill since we lost our school. I've seen lack of community. I go to the post office. I don't even know anybody anymore. I mean, we used to have just this great community. Everybody loved seeing each other, kids, and, you know, just like everybody else said, it's just, you have sports, you have community events. Leslie Barkley, I just loved her as a teacher. My kids loved her. And I could go on and on and on, but I'm not. And I just want to say also that my daughter's standing right here with her daughter who signed up for the Academy, Kalea, and she's here with me now and wanted to show her support, that we're just very excited about it. And also, I don't like the idea of little kids on the highway going back and forth, back and forth. It's just, it's not safe, and I just feel this is the best thing for our community, and I'm just really excited about it, and I just wanted to show my support, and so does Kendall. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rena.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Next, we'll hear from Andre Begley, followed by Quinn Meyer Ayala and Kendall Trimble, unless...
Andre Begley is not currently in the waiting room.
Okay. We'll see if that person comes back. Quinn Meyer Ayala.
Quinn Meyer Ayala is in the waiting room. So.
Wonderful.
And Quinn Meyer Ayala has been admitted into the meeting and just needs to hit *6 on their phone to unmute themselves.
Wonderful. Quinn. Quinn, are you with us? Quinn?
Hello. Yeah. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
I'm
Wonderful. Here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We can hear you. You've got 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Hello. Okay. Cool. As you know, my name is Quinn. I've just turned 12, and I would like to be able to go in school near my home in Hopland. I hope you vote yes for the Chanella Valley Academy, and I know this was quite short, but thank you for having me. I think that's it, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Where do you go to school now, Quinn?
I'm homeschooled.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, of course. Did I press the
red phone. Thank you. I appreciate your time. How do I?
All right. Thank you, Quinn. Next, we'll hear from Kendall Trimble, followed by Sarah Henry.
Kendall Trimble is not currently in the waiting room.
Okay. Do we have Sarah Henry by any chance?
Sarah Henley is also not currently in the waiting room. However, we do have Julie Golden and Marie Kong in the waiting room.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. All right, great.
I've admitted Julie Golden. She just needs to unmute herself using *6.
Okay, great. Thank you. Julie Golden? Julie Golden? We can't hear you yet, Julie. Julie Golden? Can you try to unmute?
*6 to unmute, Julie.
There we go. Julie?
Yes.
Wonderful. We can hear you. Go right ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, goodness. Okay. My name is Julie Golden. Thank you, Ukiah Unified School Board members, for giving me the opportunity to express my sincere support for the Sunel Valley Academy, which is slated to open their doors to children in our local community in less than 10 months from today. All of us elected you to serve on the Ukiah Unified School District to ensure that our children are provided the best facilities, the best teachers, the best curriculum, which in turn should guarantee a world-class educational experience. So much has already been said about what I wanted to say today, so I'm just going to say, as I stated in my comments last spring, the action taken by the district to surplus the Hopland School is really the wrong thing to do. Right now, you have the ability to unanimously vote to support the petition for the Sunel Valley Academy. Please reach out to us, make yourself available to really understand and communicate with us what we want to build. We want to build a truly resilient community, and we all must focus our support, our love, and our efforts to educate our children at a place in their community, a place they're proud of, and a place they will really thrive. Thank you very much for your consideration. And please reach out to us. I wish we weren't all having to do this on Zoom. It would make it, you'd really understand that everyone in this community really wants this. We're all dedicated to volunteering our time and efforts to do what we need to do to have a central heartbeat in our community. And we all believe that will be opening the doors of the Hopland School. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Marie Kong, followed by anybody who happens to still be in the waiting room. We have a few people who had signed up.
Marie Kong has been entered into the meeting and just needs to unmute themselves using *6.
Wonderful. Hi, Marie.
Oh, hi. Am I there?
You are here, but we need to have you turn off your other speaker.
Okay, is that better?
Perfect. We can hear you great now.
Okay, well, my name is Marie Kong, and my husband Todd and I would like to recommend that the charter be given to the Sunel Valley Academy to bring the school back to Hopland. We raised our 2 children in Hopland, and they went to Hopland School until junior high. Our son Andy graduated Ukiah High in 2007, and he was the #1 student in his class. He went on to graduate UC Berkeley as a Regent Scholar. And then our daughter, Gabriella, was the #2 graduating student at Ukiah High in 2010. She received the Gates Millennium Scholarship, is a UC Berkeley grad, and then got her master's in education at the University of San Francisco. And she's now getting her doctorate in multicultural education, also at the University of San Francisco. We credit the very well-rounded education that our children received at Hopland School with much of their success. The many great teachers, the art, the music, as well as all the other great things that Hopland School provided, including, valuing multiple cultures in the community, were so valuable. The students had so much exposure to new and exciting things, such as native dance, drum circles, as well as an annual beautiful celebration for the Cinco de Mayo for our entire community. They had so many opportunities surrounding the Hopland School, such as multiple sports teams and the incredible 4-H projects, where they learned community service things such as raising guide dog puppies and raising livestock, learning crafts, arts and crafts, and more importantly, they learned public speaking. Hopland School had an incredible parent and community involvement, and that, along with the great teachers and staff at the Hopland School, are what we credit to the great successes of our children. As you know, it does take a village. So please allow Hopland to have their school back as the center of the community, as it was when our children were young. I know it can be a fantastic school again for the youth of Hopland, and they deserve that experience. So thank you so much, and thank you for the very, very long night.
Thank you, Marie. So now we'll hear from Andrea, Kendall, Sarah, Joshua. Are any of them in the waiting room, Ian?
There's no one else in the waiting room for public comment.
Okay, all right then. Then we will close the public hearing for the Sunel Valley Charter School, but we will now entertain any questions from the board for any of the presenters.
President Mulgard, would you like me to admit the other presenters back into the meeting?
Well, Amy's still there. She can punt to somebody else if there's a question that she thinks somebody else can answer more fully than she can.
Understood.
Thank you. So we're not taking action tonight, I guess I should have said that at the very beginning, because not all of the board members have fully digested the big petition. So we'll be doing that at the same time. District staff will be analyzing and preparing their report for the board as well. And then we will be actually taking a vote on that in the next 2 months. But if there's any questions right now from board members, we'd be happy to get them out now. And even if there's no answer that you can answer right now, Amy, at least you would know what the question was. Trustee Van Sant?
How about Trustee Nelson first, and then I'll go.
Okay, great. Trustee Nelson.
Thank you. This is, I don't know how important it is or not, but I was just thinking about my tenure at Hopland School. When I was there, it was K-5, so that's how many classrooms were there. How are you going to house K-8 in the same footprint, or would you have modulars, or anyways, what's that look like, Amy?
So the current layout of the existing school site, there's 5 buildings or 5 classrooms in what you would consider closest to the playground. There's also the 3 classrooms in the field area, which is the farthest west of the campus. So the model of our petition is blended classrooms, where we would combine, and this was traditionally the way Hopland School was run, K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we expect lower enrollment in the upper grades, 6th, 7th, 8th, especially if we don't have any athletics to start with. So we're seeing that pretty consistently with the current meaningfully interested families that are signed up, that there's a lower enrollment in that upper school. But as we nurture those families, we get them in preschool, you know, we're able to develop them through all the way through 8th grade. We feel opportunity to kind of nurture them along throughout their life and give parents a well-rounded option in the community.
Super cool. It was a great presentation. It's exciting to see some life coming into Hopland. So thank you guys for your effort.
Thank you, Tyler.
Go ahead, Trustee Van Sant. You're muted, Megan.
Sorry, should know better by now. I was thinking along the same lines as Trustee Nelson and wondering if your group would you consider or think about opening as a K-5 or K-6 to begin with, and then growing that 7th and 8th grade over time, because that is the one kind of age span that seems challenging to open right then, especially if people have sort of committed to a path already and they might be in 6th or 7th grade in one of the in-town schools. It would be maybe hard to come back to a much smaller environment in that last year.
We definitely did consider that, and the thing that stuck out to us the most is that if you have students that are split between different schools, it becomes a challenge on the parent to get one student from a place in Hopland and, you know, pick up your student at Pomalita or high school. So we wanted families to have the option, and we really thought about it because we too felt that it would be a challenge to introduce that 6th through 8th curriculum, but we felt that it was really important for families, and that's why we decided.
That makes sense. I understand that. So you wanted to give families the option to have all their kids together at the school if they had 2 or 3 kids in that. That makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate the petition. It sounds like a really awesome school. I was imagining my daughter loves animals and would have loved to be at a school with animals on site. So I really commend you for that petition and that vision. When I went to a school where I had to just be on the bus or ride with a friend or family member for like half an hour to 40 minutes to go to school. And I really do know how isolating that can be when the school site that can be the center of your community is really far away from where you live. So that really resonated with me. And I'm enthusiastic and looking forward to the next steps. President Mogart, I'm just clarifying, we're just hearing today. We don't really have to do anything. Is that right? There's no action on our part today.
That is exactly correct. Right. We still need more time to for individual board members to each make sure they've read the entire petition. And then we'd also be getting a report from staff about their analysis as well.
So I just wanted to make sure, Amy, you and the rest of the team heard that, you know, we're not making a decision today. So don't don't see that as a lack of support. I guess is what we're saying. That's we're following the rules. We're trying to we've ourselves been learning about what this process is. It's the first charter school petition like this I've ever been through. So I'm making sure that I understand exactly what our role is along the path. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds over hopefully not too many months.
And the basic timetable is right now we would anticipate having the meeting in which we would be taking a vote probably the 2nd week of December. Is that correct, Superintendent Cuban?
Yes, we would aim to do this prior to the winter break.
Mm-hmm. And my one other thought that my concern is that it's really awesome to hear so much community support for this. It does seem like a lot to pull off by next fall. So I'm wondering if you also talked about the fall of 2022 as an option. Is there some reason that would not work for you, or is that something that's still possible?
It's still possible. I think, you know, we originally had been planning to open a year later from now. And as you guys know, there was a transition with the property and in what the district wanted to do. And so we sped up our timeline a little bit, and we realized that it's a fairly large undertaking. We have a contingency plan in place on how we would organize it or stage it, but obviously that's all proposed at this time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Superintendent Cuban?
Amy, thank you so much for your work on this. it sounds very exciting, and I know how challenging it is to start a school. So just thank you to you and your team. I'm really curious about the middle school component of this. I've spent a lot of my years in middle school, and I know how important it is to have single subject area experts in the area of math, for example. And I'm wondering how your school model will support specifically math and the teaching of writing if you're in a multi-graded middle school classroom.
I would like if Malia could be in the meeting. She's a specialist in this area. She would probably be the best person to answer that question.
That would be great. Ian, would you be able to bring back Malia Meyer into the meeting, please?
Sorry, I've just brought back Malia Meyer to the meeting.
Wonderful. So Malia, if you could unmute, and then do you need to hear the question again, or did you hear it?
No, I do need to hear it again because YouTube is on a delay.
Okay.
So Malia, I'm very interested in learning more about the middle school portion of the K-8 school. I know just from experience and research that math is particularly important for middle school, and you know, kids often are at different levels, and if you are serving students through a multi-graded middle school model, how will you approach math? What will the curriculum be? How will you meet the needs of so many different learners at different grade levels in a multi-age classroom for middle school?
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about. As we know, really throughout our county, math achievement levels are not where we would like them to be. So this was a really important part of the development of our charter. And our strategy, especially for the middle school math, will be a continuation of what they're getting in earlier grades, which is a personalized learning plan that's supported not only by one-on-one interactions with teachers, tutors, and our instructional aides, and or whatever kind of support they might need if they have an IEP or a 504 plan. But also that will be supplemented with a variety of mastery-based programs, which you can read a lot more about in detail in the charter, about why we chose which programs and why they are effective. One of those is iReady, but we'll also be developing those plans based on each student's individual needs, because we expect our middle school enrollment to be pretty small. We're going to be able to give students that individualized support that they just can't get in a classroom of 30 or 40 students. Does that answer the question, or did?
I'm having a hard time envisioning that. Will middle schoolers be basically in a self-paced program doing independent study, or will there be direct instruction from a teacher at those grade levels?
If you had read the petition, there would be a lot more clarity. There's actually a chart that kind of outlines what that looks like, but I'll try to be brief. This has been a long night already. I don't want you guys to have to sit here too much longer to get information that is written down for you. But the way that looks is we will have a dedicated teaching team for our middle school students. What we expect, Christian would have more exact numbers, but we don't expect to have more than 30 students for the whole middle school. So they'll be working in small group teams, just like they would in any project-based learning environment, like they might at Eagle Peak. But they'll also be, like I said, working one-on-one. Some of their work will be online, and that's how we're going to meet a variety of different needs and really diversify the content that they're getting. So, and if you want a better idea of what that actually looks like, we can also, anyway, it's in the charter petition as well.
If there's further questions that you have, we can follow up with you in more detail if that helps.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from board members for tonight anyway? I'm sure there will be as we delve more deeply into it, but yes, Trustee Diaz.
Okay, not a question, but basically a thank you to all involved, and thank you to everyone who called tonight, showing their support for this. And like it was mentioned before, this could be the beginning of something great. And so thank you all.
Great. I can't see everybody on my screen, so I keep reaching up to go back and forth so that I can see all the board members. So if I'm not seeing you, just speak up, don't be bashful. Okay, so no other questions. Any other comments the board would like to make at this time?
I'm waving my hand. Maybe you can't see me.
Oh, shoot. Thank you. Go ahead, Trustee Fernandez.
I thank you, Amy, for such a thorough and thoughtful charter. You guys have obviously put a lot of time and energy into that, and I really appreciate that. I too feel excited by the prospect that Hopland could have a school back, a local school. I think that's really important. And I'm really hopeful and looking forward to all the details that will need to be worked out. And I'm hoping that they all can be, and that Hopland will be able to have a community school, whether or not it's this September or the following September. But thank you for doing all this work on this. It's really lovely to see.
Thank you. And I will say that I come from a background where we iterate very, very quickly. So these type of timelines are not quite as daunting to me. But thank you guys for your time this evening, and we really appreciate the consideration.
Trustee Arkin?
And I just want to thank all you guys for all the time and effort that you put into this, and tell you that I'm looking forward to our next step. We'll see what happens.
Great. And I just wanted to mention that I've talked about this before, but I just wanted to mention that the importance of having residents of color on your organizing committee rather than just separately as your students. We know the demographics of Hopland have a significant Native American and Latinx population, and so we would hope to see that on your organizing committee as well. And if there's no other comments, then we would take a break for 5 minutes and then come back and hear the presentation about the recommission of Hopland Elementary School, which is kind of a separate issue, but kind of related. Nothing else? Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break and we will be back at 7:46. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We are currently on a 5-minute break.
Okay, Ian.
I'm not laughing at that, Ann.
At what?
At what?
Did I just lean forward?
The
Did I just lean
earthquake that was in
forward?
the room.
Oh, goodness. If you had read the petition. Oh, my goodness.
We are still live on YouTube, by the way.
Okay. All right. Can you tell if everybody's here? Almost. All right, good. We're almost all here. Wonderful. Okay, now let me see. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it only shows me 9 people on the screen. And so right now, for example, I can't tell if Trustee Van Sant is with us.
Trustee Van Sant is with you.
Okay, excellent. All right. So
and we are live, but that's fine.
Right. So we are back live, and we are now going to our operational system agenda item D2, discussion and possible approval of recommission of Hopland Elementary School. And Mr. Barrickman, our CBO, is going to present for us this evening and probably share his screen. And for the public, attached to the agenda is this presentation.
Great. Thank you, President Mulgard. First, I want to take a half a step back. I was a little remiss when I introduced the first item earlier tonight. What I meant to say and forgot to say was that we received their complete charter petition from the SBA on October 2nd. Upon receipt, that starts a 90-day clock basically for us. That says we have to have a public hearing within 60 days so they can present their petition, which they did tonight. And then within 90 days, the board has to take action to either accept or deny their petition in another public hearing. So we are well within our timeline, and we're off to a good start, and lots to talk about, obviously. So from there, I'm going to share my screen and walk you through the presentation. Okay. Typically, a charter petition and their facilities request are really 2 separate, distinct items. Obviously, they're kind of hand in hand in this case. They're very much tied together. So we already know that they are requesting to use the Hopland Elementary site. And so we'll talk about some of the things that can mean for the district going forward. The property has not been used as a school since the 2009-2010 school year, as we talked earlier. In December of 2016, the board directed the creation of the second 7-Eleven committee that was to evaluate the future use of both the Hopland and Redwood Valley Elementary sites. The committee considered various factors like future enrollment projections, classroom capacity, ongoing costs to maintain the properties, and the estimated cost to reopen the sites. Based on the recommendation of the 7-Eleven committee, the board declared both properties as surplus on December 14th, 2017. Since then, the district has been working to find an exchange partner for the property so that we could acquire a property closer to town that we could use for future use, whether another school site, another district property, things like that. The school site has been vacant and the property has been vacant since 2010, and obviously needs some modifications before it could be used for students again. Oops, can I go backwards? So taking half a step back, why do school facility projects cost so much? If we were to go off and do this project on our own, it would have a very different price tag to it. Again, there are a variety of factors. First of all, as a school district, we're required to pay prevailing wages, and it's typically means union work. We can't pay what other people can pay for the work. We have to pay the prevailing wages. As we talked earlier tonight, we have significantly higher standards for non-school facilities. For us to build a 6-foot ball wall on the school campus means we have to dig down 4 or 5 feet and put in concrete footings. Nobody else has that requirement, right? It's very onerous at times. We can't really do volunteer projects. It'd be great for us to say, hey, come help us do this Saturday and Sunday at one of our school sites. Can't really do that. A big part of the regulations is through the division of the state architect. They have to review any and all changes to our schools. That means we have to hire an architect, and architect fees typically are 9 to 12% of the project cost. DSA also charges us fees to review those plans. DSA requires inspectors, all sorts of different testing and things, soil studies, etc. We also have to look for any hazardous materials at the site and remediate those if they're found. And we need a construction management firm to help us navigate these processes. Now, charter schools can acquire facilities several different ways. They can purchase facilities on their own, they can construct facilities, or they could lease facilities from a private party. It's important to note that charter schools do not have those same requirements that we have for facilities. They do not have to follow what's called the Field Act. They can do very different things. The facilities that probably all of our charter schools have in town currently are facilities that we could not put our students in. They do not meet the Field Act. But charter schools have different requirements. Charter schools could also try to partner with their sponsoring district, either requesting facilities through Proposition 39 or working to find an alternative agreement to Prop 39. Proposition 39 has a lot of requirements for districts. If we were to enter a strict Proposition 39 agreement with a charter school, we have to provide reasonably equivalent, contiguous, furnished, and equipped space that can accommodate all the all the charters and district students. We have to make reasonable efforts to provide the facilities near where a charter school wishes to locate. We do not have to give a charter school the exact location they specify. And facility requests that are based on projections of less than 80 in-district average daily attendance, or ADA, can be denied. Again, that's separate. That's the facility request. That's not the charter itself. If the charter school meets the requirements under Prop 39 and it's implementing regulations for provision of district facilities, the chartering district and the charter school can enter into an alternative agreement for facilities. Typically, these agreements provide the charter school with district funds to use towards lease or purchase of their own school site in lieu of providing a district facility for use. In a straight Prop 39 agreement, the onus for the facilities falls on the district. We have to follow the Field Act and we have to pay for all of the costs. That is California Code of Regulations requirement. The hard costs alone, based on all the factors we have to consider when we go in to renovate a school site, are estimated at $3.1 million by Counterpoint Construction Services. And the soft costs, things like the architect fees, going to DSA, and contingency costs could push this total over $4 million. Additionally, the district must provide first-party property insurance on the site because we are the site, we are the owner of the property. You can't insure a property you don't own. Because of the floodplain issue at the site, we have to insure each building separately through the National Flood Insurance Program. And depending on which level of deductible you select and things like that, it's a pretty expensive process. And each building, the coverage for the building is capped at $500,000 per building. That does not include any liability, and that does not include any contents. That's just the buildings themselves. We have 4 or 5 buildings on the Hopland site valued at more than $500,000 each. So if it were to flood catastrophically, the insurance would only pay $500,000 for each of those buildings. And the cost to replace would be much higher in some cases. It is important to note that we are not required to maintain flood insurance on the property. but given the fact that it flooded in the last 15 years, we would certainly want to. So a brief note about Counterpoint Construction Services. I mentioned their cost estimate for the property. Counterpoint has actually worked with the district for several years. Most recently, the district issued an RFP for construction management services, and the board selected Counterpoint back on November 14th of 2019. They provided construction management services to multiple districts throughout the region over the last 15 years. I was fortunate enough to work with them in Healdsburg as well for many years and can speak very highly of them. Their leadership team has over 25 years of experience in school construction and over 65 years of construction experience. So they're extremely knowledgeable, and they were a great group to pick to do this estimation for us. So looking at the cost in a little more detail, you can see where the 3.1 million comes from, starting with general conditions and job site overhead, going on to demolition and site work, a little bit of concrete, woods and plastics. A big piece is the thermal and moisture protection, almost $800,000. Doors and windows, finishes, specialties, equipment, mechanical, electrical, which would be huge as well. Fire alarm systems gonna have to be replaced entirely, things like that. High ticket, high dollar items, but critical items as well. So you see the estimate is about 3.1 million. And again, that's just for the hard costs. That doesn't include any contingency, which you typically estimate at about 10%, and soft costs, which you typically estimate at 15 to 20%. So you all told, you're looking at about $4 million if we were to do the project under Prop 39. So with that, I was just trying to provide a little bit of background on the property. Again, the property is declared as surplus right now, and right now we have no obligation to repair the facility. So tonight, the board really has three options. You can choose to find that the property is needed for school facilities and direct us to pursue the project to recommission the elementary school, to get going on working with an architect, working with DSA, getting to work on the project. The board could also choose to leave the property designated as surplus and say, we're not going to recommission the site at this time. Or the board can choose to not take any action at this time. Given that we have not received their formal Prop 39 facilities request yet, and given other uncertainty, that might be a good option tonight. We have plenty of time. Well, we have 60 days plus. So again, those are really kind of the three different options the board can take. With that, I can take any questions.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions? Trustee Van Sant?
Steve, I think that I'm struggling with the word recommission. So I guess if it seemed like there might be another choice. So my understanding of recommission would be we would reopen the school as the district? Because is that what you would mean by recommission?
Correct. Or if we were to enter into a straight Prop 39 agreement with the charter school for that facility, we are still the property owner. We have to do all those projects and take all those costs ourselves.
But if we were to somehow transfer something to a charter school group, it would be neither recommissioning nor leaving as surplus. It would be something else, right?
It would be taken off the surplus list at least, certainly, right. So if we do an agreement outside of Prop 39, then we have more flexibility. But yeah, you would have to take board action to declare it not surplus at some point.
But what you're asking us today, which it seems like one of our options is do nothing, but is specific to the Prop 39 path, which would either be recommissioning or leaving a surplus. But I'm just trying to repeat here. But what you're also saying is there is another path. We just don't need to figure that out right now because we don't have enough detail. Is that
correct?
Right?
Yeah, basically it's leave it as surplus, take the step to unsurplus it, or do nothing tonight.
And can I jump in here?
Please.
Please.
So I think what's important to understand is that your Prop 39 requests, if the charter school meets the 80 in District ADA, you are supposed to give consideration to their request for location. And they have requested location in Hopland, and you only have one facility at Hopland. That said, in order to make that facility available under Prop 39, it has to be in the same condition as other school district facilities. So in order to make it available, the entire facility needs to be brought up to the conditions that the other school district facilities are in. If that's not going to happen, then the school district, if 80 in District 80A are shown to be reasonably committed to attending the charter school, then the school district has to find alternate facilities for them that are reasonably equivalent in condition to what the rest of the district students are receiving. So that's where this comes up is, and it's a little bit hard because we don't have that Prop 39 request yet, but we foresee it coming, and it's going to be for this property, which would require a pretty extensive outlay of funds in order to make it available under Prop 39. Does that help to clarify what you were asking, Steve, Trustee Van Sant?
I mean, I think what I'm trying to get at here is I actually think that I understand it because, but I'm not sure it's clear to the public. So I'm struggling with making sure the public understands the full range of options that are available to the board. And I'm not sure that the way this is constructed right now is making it clear to the public that we have more options than the three. I mean, doing nothing is, I'll set that aside. There are more options than leaving it a surplus or recommissioning it and bringing it up to the standard that a public school district would have to do. So is this the appropriate time to talk about other options, even though they're not particularly on the table right now, because we're missing information still?
Steve, are you able to pull that slide back up that talks about how charter schools get facilities and the options that are there?
Back to.
I think you passed it.
Yep, I think I did too. This one?
Yes. So I think this gets to your question. And charter schools have a variety of options for obtaining facilities. If they don't have 80 in District 80A, so they can't show that 80 of their students are coming from within the district, they can purchase their own facilities. They can construct facilities. They can lease facilities from either the school district or a private party. And then they also, if they have at least 80 students coming from within the district, they can request facilities from the district. Sometimes districts also enter into these kind of what we call in lieu of agreements for our charter schools that do meet Prop 39 requirements, but don't necessarily want either the facilities that are offered, or the district may not have facilities to provide to them.
As is our current situation at Ukiah Unified.
Right. Okay. So what I heard in the presentation is that the charter school group was requesting to lease, sort of this third one, except for we're not really a private party. They were requesting to lease the facility. Am I correct? That's what they said in their presentation? I'm trying to remember.
Well, I think what they're requesting to do, my understanding, is that they want to submit a Prop 39 request, establish their right to receive facilities in district, and then subsequently enter into an in lieu agreement.
Okay. Because if we were to offer them something in Ukiah, that would not meet what their goals are.
Right, and that's right. What I think that's kind of what this whole presentation gets at, is the idea that the facility they want costs, as Steve just shared, in the millions of dollars to make habitable for their students. So it's
I'm sorry, can I just be clear though, to make it habitable for UUSD students, it's not necessarily millions of dollars to make it habitable for a charter school, because Steve kind of commented on all the different things that a school district, public school district, has to do versus a charter school. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if that's correct, actually. And I say that because there's some conflict in the law as to, well, it's not conflict. There's a lack of clarity in the law as to whether or not, if a charter school leases facilities from the school district, do they have to comply with the same facilities requirements as us, or can they go with local county permitting and building processes? Okay. And so that's something that, if that was the route that we take here, that's something that will have to be talked about and worked out.
Okay, thank you. So we're really missing a lot of information still, it sounds like, on some of this.
Yes, we are missing a lot of information, but unfortunately have timelines.
Right. Understand.
So we are working to get it.
Okay, thank you.
Can we take the share screen away?
Great, go ahead, Trustee Fernandez.
So I want to make sure that what we do tonight with the recommissioning isn't perceived by the public as a vote against the charter school petition. So that's, I think, kind of what Megan was maybe saying, that we don't know how it's going to work out because the district isn't necessarily in a position to pay the $3 million to refurbish the school, but it sounded like the group itself would like to take that on. So I'm wondering if staff would be able to work with them to see if a lease would be possible rather than Prop 39, if that's a possibility, so that they could get the school and assume responsibility for the costs.
Zoe, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think the first step is we need to receive a Prop 39 request from the group, and then we would need to go from there. But we don't have a request yet. Those are typically due on November 1st. And then obviously anything that we would do, we would bring back to the board. So we're recommending tonight that you take no action on this. We're not telling you to bring it back and unsurplus it yet, or until we get some more information from the petitioners.
So it sounds like as part of the no formal action to recommission Hopland School, we would, however, be directing staff to follow up on any petitions it receives, and not so much to negotiate as at least to investigate possibilities with the potential charter school, and for our council to further research the rules around permitting and required rehab construction. Does that sound like, does anybody else agree that that would be our direction to staff?
I didn't even, can you say that again, President Mogart? I didn't follow that really
well,
I
think just as we don't want to give an impression that we're already approving an application we don't have yet, we also don't want to say we don't want to do anything. And I think what we want staff to do is continue along the path of exploring possibilities, especially if in a week they get a Prop 39 application. And we want council to keep doing research about what are the rules. If, sometimes there's no good answer in law, but if there is an answer, what are the rules around the different levels of permitting and construction requirements that are different or the same between the industry, between a district school and a charter school. So at least we're not tying anybody's hands and saying, don't talk about this. We're actually saying, talk about it, but there's nothing, but we're not taking legal action tonight.
Okay. Trustee Barrett is waving her hand.
And so is Trustee
And
Arkin.
so is Trustee
we'll go
Arkin.
to Trustee Barrett first, then Trustee Arkin. Mute.
Trustee Barrett, you're muted.
There we go.
I always forget that. We're not closing any doors tonight.
Right.
That's the bottom line. We're just not gonna, we're not going to suggest that we recommission, but we're just suggesting that we look further. We're not closing doors. We're open.
We're opening more doors.
Yes, we're open to more possibilities.
I like how you said that. Trustee Arkin?
I think they got a flavor from us that we are supportive of having a school there, but they have to know, as we all know, that one of the big deals was the amount of money it is to do it. And so they know that, and it seems to me that they wanted to start looking at
them figuring out how they can put it together like that. And I'd like to see if they can. You know, I mean, I want to see their, of course, their charter and stuff, but I mean, that's a positive thing. We're not a no, and things are open, and the issue is they're not. Unless their charters I read on would be horrible, it would be, the issue would be the expense of doing it that we couldn't do. And it's why we closed everything. And so they know that. And so I'm sure they're thinking, I mean, I'm hoping or something that they're thinking that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So is what Trustee Barrett and Trustee Arkin, is that how the other board members are feeling as well? Does that kind of accurately reflect where you're at tonight? Yeah, I mean, it does for me too. I see Trustee Diaz nodding.
I agree with Trustee Arkin, although I have to say, Trustee Arkin, your sound was a little weird and it was a little hard to follow. So I don't, just letting you know that your internet must be going out or something. I think, so I think what I want to paraphrase what I think you were saying is that my feeling is I would like to pursue all possible avenues to support this charter unless something comes up that we haven't expected, right? It was a very long charter. I have to be honest, I have not read all 100 pages of it yet, and I know that we have time to do that. But the various possibilities for I'm not going to use the word recommissioning because I don't like it and it's too confusing to me, but the various possibilities for making this school available to the community, I would like to see explored, whether that's recommissioning or some other format that was not on the last slide. I felt like the last slide was a little constricting. It was like, do this or that or nothing. And I'm like, well, what about option 4 or option 5? So I'm interested in all the options beyond recommissioning or surplus or keeping a surplus, because it sounds like there's potentially some other avenues that we're not quite sure what they would be yet.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I just wanted to address the last slide, and I think I know why the last slide came across in that way, and it's because on November 1st, we do on or by November 1st, we expect to get a Prop 39 request, and we will have to analyze it and provide a response to it by December 1st. And part of what I know I'm concerned about, and I believe the district staff is concerned about as well, is that what we're analyzing there is how many students we reasonably believe are going to attend that school. And I think you've got 2 different scenarios. And the one is where you all recommission the school, and that's provided as under Prop 39. And the other is if facilities are provided elsewhere in your district. And I think you would see very different numbers with those 2. You know, as Deb said very clearly, there's no need to make a decision tonight, but just kind of keep it in your minds that this is something that will need to be addressed before the charter petition is even addressed because of those timelines that are in place in our statutory timelines.
So I'm sorry to keep belaboring this, but it's an important issue. So they have to turn in the Prop 39 by November 1st, and then how much time do we have after that to respond to the 39 request?
So 30 days.
We have
30 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have until December 1st, which is sort of 30 days.
I see.
Unless we take out
So
fall break.
it's very quick. It's not much time.
It is, and that first timeline is to object to their ADA calculations, and you know, sometimes that's really straightforward. Here, I think it isn't, because you have 2 different options, and the one option only works if the board's willing to spend $3.1 million or more to recommission a site. And the Prop 39 request is separate and apart from leasing the facility or any other options. And they both, the petition and the facility lease has to go on its kind of timeline. And then the Prop 39 request has to go on its timeline too. Okay. And it's just creating a mess.
I see what you mean. So the 39 has to go down its path, it's Prop 39 with a lot of very clear rules about how we respond and how we do that. But there's also potentially other paths that are independent from that Prop 39 path.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point earlier, you just want to make sure that staff and council is looking at all of those, since we don't know yet what we're doing, what decision we're making about it. You just don't want to close any doors.
Right. And I think I just want to also make it clear to the public that, you know, I know they were aware, because I can't even keep track of the meetings, that we were on this other path around an exchange of the property and all of that. But I'm comfortable with kind of pausing on that while we figure out all of this. So I just wanted to make sure I assume the rest, I don't know if the rest of the board feels the same way, but I'm comfortable with a pause on whatever we were, you know, that path we were going down while we figure all this out. That's another path right? That's out there. And I just wanted to be clear about that.
And Mr. Berrickman, that's how you've been proceeding in the last couple of weeks, right? That the other path is on hold for a little while?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Good. So I just want to make sure the public understood that too, because I felt like there was some sense of urgency on their part, and there's a sense of urgency because we want to figure out what to do with this property, but it's not necessarily because we're about to turn the keys over to somebody else tomorrow. That's not going to happen in terms of like that.
Right. Trustee Nelson.
If there's another deal, if somebody wants to buy the school, we need to hear about it. It's costing us every year to maintain the school. We're not taking that off the table either. So there isn't an urgency. The school every year is costing us money, and I am super excited about, more than anything else, having kids off school buses for hours and hours and hours. But if there's another opportunity out there, then we need to look at it, because our role as trustees is to do what's best for the district. And that is one of those options that's really important to continue to consider. So there is an urgency. We need to weigh all options, including the charter school, which again, I feel really excited about, but I don't want to take anything off the table.
Okay, is Trustee Fernandez?
I think what she was saying is we're not going to sell it out from underneath them. I think that's kind of what she said, is that we'll let this take its course and see where it goes. And we're not going to next week or next month all of a sudden sort of sell the school and say, whoops, sorry. Is that kind of what
I think that's exactly accurate. And just to be super clear, I did have a member of this charter school petition tell me, I'm afraid we're running out of time because you guys are going to sell this tomorrow or something. So I was just trying to say that's not, you know, we're not under a timeline that's going to force us to make a decision about selling the property to somebody else tomorrow without enough time to look through this. Because as our legal counsel pointed out to us, we have to do this really fast anyway, in terms of responding to their petition.
I think if something comes up, we need to consider it. And so, yes, they should move with haste. We have our timeline set in line, but if somebody wants to buy the property, we need to consider that as well. I mean, reality is selling a piece of property takes forever. But I want to make it perfectly clear that I'm super excited about the charter, but if another opportunity comes up, we need to consider that as well.
Okay. All right, so is that enough direction at this point? And I guess I'm looking at council and the CBO. Is that enough direction, or do we need anything more clear than what you've heard?
No, I think we're good.
Yes, okay. I feel very comfortable with the direction I have received. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So anything further on D2 from board? Okay, then let's go on to D3, Proposition 68 grant application for the Healthy Ukiah Sports Complex.
Right, so this is kind of a fun item, and just going to be a really quick item. I'm just basically going to tease what you're going to see at the next regular board meeting on November 12th. The city is in the process of applying for a Proposition 68 grant, and they want us to partner with them in applying for the grant. They want to construct a gymnasium on the Oak Manor property and an outdoor sports court. And they're looking for a partner, kind of like we partnered with the ARC at the Grace Hudson. But to do this, they're just they want to kick off their public campaign. A big part of their grant application is getting a lot of public support and a lot of public buy-in. So they need to get out and start having those conversations. And we just want to make sure you guys had a heads up on this project, which is very exciting. If we could add a gym to Oak Manor and a sports facility for no cost, basically, that's something we definitely want to pursue. Chris is very excited, as I'm sure that the whole community around Oak Manor would be.
Indeed.
I have a quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
What's the timeline for the grant in terms of when if they were successful, when it would be awarded?
That I'm not sure about. They'll tell you all about that next month, but the grant has to be turned in by December 14th. So it's a very tight timeline to get this thing put together and turned in.
That would be awesome.
It would be. I don't envy the city. They have to follow the Field Act to build this gymnasium on our campus, though. They have some things to learn about working with schools if they're going to do it.
Well, let them be enthusiastic for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Not burst their bubble.
Super excited to think there could be a gym there. That's really, really wonderful.
That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I guess I would just say from the very beginning, let's talk about representation on the planning committee. Let's talk about what kind of decision-making processes we have, what kind of conflict resolution processes we have, and we'll load that in from the very beginning so we don't have problems later.
We will put what we've learned to good use and past experiences in several different districts and several different projects.
Good, good. Superintendent Cuban?
Just a quick side note about the city, super appreciative of their partnership. And this is related to after-school rec related activities. They're helping us right now with our after-school in-person activities. We've got one running at Pomalita and one running at Ukiah. Ukiah starts on Monday. Yes, it's Thursday today. And we filled those within 24 hours. There's a great need, and we're looking at expanding to another school. So we appreciate that partnership with their recreation program and all the rec that the city does for the youth in our community. And we're super excited to nail down some tight agreements, but get a gym on Oak Manor's campus.
The city of Ukiah does a really nice job with the youth in this community. And once again, we see them stepping up for the school in partnership with the school to really meet the needs of our kids. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate, Deb, that you look to them, because our teachers are understandably so are exhausted and don't have the bandwidth to take on extra projects. But it's a perfect fit for the city to be able to step in and partner with the schools. So thank you for reaching out and for doing that. And thank you to the city for being such a willing partner. It's really wonderful for our kids.
Good. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Was the grant thing just like a, hey, this is happening, isn't that great item? Okay.
Yeah, it's been very much a fast track.
Okay.
And especially because you're going to hear about it in the community, and so that you heard it here first.
Okay. So we didn't be like, oh, who's doing that? Awesome.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, okay.
So that will be on for a vote as to whether or not we are embarking on this partnership at our next meeting. Is that correct? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Hearing nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.